Guys, welcome to today's training session. No real WHS issues at the moment, but we all know emergency back where we need to meet, just out in the car park under the assembly area, so in case of emergency we can all assemble there. So today we're going to be looking at a unit in Certificate 3 in Sport Coaching. Learning outcomes for today. We're going to watch a short video. We're going to do a bit of a brainstorm on when to give feedback and how to give feedback, what feedback to give during sports competition. Before we get into that, we'll just go back and relive feedback and when's timely enough to give it during a training session. It's a little bit different when you're trying to apply feedback to a training session or a competition. So sometimes it's hard to get feedback out when you need to get it out. If you're thinking about like an AFL game, like when can you get feedback out to your players? It might be something crucial that needs to happen straight away. So how do we get that feedback out and to the players as quickly as possible? We're going to do a bit of a group brainstorm on competitive review process. So how do you review competition game for that week? We're going to also group brainstorm method of self-reflection, and then we'll have a look at your session plan 8, which is your tactical session for today. Just before we get into this session, we're going to just relive a little bit of when to apply feedback during a training session. And I want you to have a bit of a look at essentially how it could differ from a training session to a practical session. So, methods of observation and feedback during sport-specific sessions with participants. So, how to observe. Okay, so what I want you guys to do quickly is just based on like up to session plan 8, which is your last session plan before you deliver your competition. So just have a bit of a think about how you've been observing through your training sessions. Like, have you been watching? Have you been taking down notes of like how your participants are going in their training sessions? So just have a bit of a group brainstorm for a couple of minutes on how you've been observing feedback. So looking at how participants move, carry themselves, facial expressions, etc. Is there anything you've been picking up on throughout your training sessions that you've applied feedback to the participants with? So just have a quick think. What areas have you been? How have you been observing your participants through their training sessions? We can get one each, and then we'll come back and we'll put it on the board. It could be anything. It could be like you've been observing body language. Has their body language been poor? Has it been positive? Has it been negative? Have you been observing how they've been interacting with their teammates, with other lines coaches? How have you been observing your athletes through your training sessions?
Does that mean
Like when you're out there and you're delivering your practice sessions, or so your skill development sessions, your strength and conditioning and tactical sessions?
Yeah.
When you've delivered and you watch them out executing what you've taught them, what have you been observing? Have you been observing them are they giving good directions to their teammates? Are they helping? Are they positive engaging language? Good. Has it been negative? Has it been positive? Like how are they communicating? Because how they communicate shows our understanding of what's required of them as well. So what was your one looking?
Positive and encouraging language or engaging language.
Help me, Tom.
Me. Fiona Lily.
Diana, what's your answer?
Rainbow.
Ava? Yep. Got anything else, Jess?
Like cheering when they when they score, like getting involved.
Be enthusiastic. Yes.
And these are good because you're observing them, how they're reacting to certain things, that elements that you've introduced to them with how they want to play the game. So if you're observing things like cheering, enthusiastic and scoring, things like that, it means that they're conducting themselves in a positive way, they're creating a positive environment to training. Alright, we'll move on to the next one. So what to observe during a training session. So what feedback is appropriate? We'll leave that one, we'll go on that competition. So in training sessions, what to observe? What were you observing through your conditioning sessions? I know it's trying to go back a little bit, but we just want to make the differential between observation and feedback timing through training sessions and then through competition. Right, so have a bit of a think. What were you observing through the conditioning sessions? So what to observe conditioning? What kind of things were you observing through their conditioning session to help them progress their game? So if you just look.
Good behaviour.
Yep. So conditioning, like we're looking at targeting certain things, weren't we? Like speed, endurance. What's some other things that you were targeting? What did you target your conditioning sessions with? Speed, power.
Yeah, speed, power, and power. I reckon.
Yep.
My main
So
focus.
if we remember back, speed and power. So then, what kind of training session did you implement to help increase speed and power?
We did.
What equipment did we use?
It depends. With the smaller kids, we did like the coin thing. Like they had to.
Oh, I'm talking about for your conditioning session out here. What equipment did you use to help your athletes in your conditioning session?
Oh, agility.
Yeah. So what did you use? What equipment did you use?
Cones.
Cones? Yep.
The poles. And like, what was the thing when we had to wrap it around?
Sled.
With the weight on it.
Yeah, the weighted sleds and the resistance bands. So when you're observing your skill and technique sessions, so remember how you identified what athletes needed to improve in different areas, like what were you looking to improve for? So for your backs, Jess, what was that like? Positioning, so body positioning for spoils and things like that?
Or like positioning themselves in front of their players.
Yeah, what else? So when you were exiting, when you wanted to exit your defensive half, what were you focus on? Something.
Leading on 45.
Yeah.
Creating space.
Skill execution as well, so making sure you're hitting those targets.
Yep.
And then for your strategy and tactics, I know we've got one more session to go, but we've done two. So remember we role played like decision making and how to read the game, anticipate the opponent's next move, things like that. So I know you've got one more to do, but feedback through those sessions. Remember how we discussed about timing of feedback? So instead of like tactical sessions rolling through, and they might not be doing it the way you want them to, instead of waiting to the end of the session, you can pause your tactical session halfway through and give the feedback required. Say like your leading patterns just weren't like what we require, or your positioning, your setups and that just aren't work. So let's get ourselves into those positions and then we'll role play it through again. So rather than your participants continuously rolling through and not doing it how you want them to do it, how you want it all set up, you pause that and you get it back into practice the right way. So what we're going to do now is, so that's, timing of feedback. Immediately in drills, feedback should be provided. So participants can correct it straight away. Keep feedback simple and concise. Delayed. Simulated game matches, wait until breaks or post-session. So we're going to go through a little bit of that at the moment. Just watch a quick video. So this video is based on feedback and competition, like how to give feedback, when to give it, and things like that. So just go, get it going.
Upgrade your shave with Gillette Labs. The Flex Disc turns with your face for an unbeatably smooth finish. Gillette Labs, unbeatably smooth.
Well, not quite the storybook ending, huh?
Oh, Coach
Not
Carter,
for us.
one of my all-time greats. Have you seen this movie?
But you men
Watch it.
played
So good.
like champions. Never gave up. And champions hold their heads high. What you achieved goes way beyond the win-loss column of what's going to be written on the front page of the sports section tomorrow. You've achieved something that some people spend their whole lives trying to find. What you achieved is that ever elusive victory within. And Joan, I am so proud of you. 4 months ago, when I took the job at Richmond, I had a plan. That plan failed. I came to coach basketball players, and you became students. I came to teach boys, and you became men. For that, I thank you.
And Jim Playfair just broke the stick over the ice. He has lost his mind. Jim Playfair is throwing the stick on the ice. Unbelievable. He's throwing his jacket off. Jim Playfair is going nuts on Jamie Koharski right now. And the fans are with them. And he's going to break a second stick. He's on the top of the bench, and Jim Playfair once again throws their stick on the ice. And now Jamie Koharski is going to outweigh them.
Feedback can have the following effects. It can reinforce the correct or desired response. It can motivate the performer to improve or maintain their performance. And it can correct
Alright. So, 3 different forms of feedback. Okay, which one was the most calmest? First one, Coach Carter. And if you ever get it, Jess, if you get a chance, it's one of the best movies out, Coach Carter. You'll love it. I've watched it probably about 100 times. It's one of my favourite movies. So yeah, if we look at the first option of giving feedback, that was a tough loss. That was after losing a championship game, high school championship game. So obviously they're down. They've lost the biggest game of their high school career. The type of feedback you deliver then is crucial because their mindset, their mentality is like we've just been defeated. So you want to try and be as positive as you can. So he said, you know, I came to coach boys, but you ended up turning into men. Like, everything he said was positive. You know, it was uplifting at that time when they were, you know, probably a bit down about it all. So the second one, where the hockey coach is just absolutely slamming those hockey sticks against the side of the bleachers. You know, that's like really aggressive in that. It's really aggressive feedback, and you know, it's not constructive. There's nothing good about that. And even the third one with the NFL coach, like, that was almost like verbal abuse, wasn't it? It was like in his face, swearing at him. You know, the last two feedback, you never want to be that coach, because a few things can happen. Like, at that real present point in time, because that's during the game, that player can drop his head, go into his shell, okay, and essentially not play anywhere up to his ability. It's scarring as well. Like, it can take a lot to get over. Like, I'm not sure if any of you guys here, ever had a coach that's like giving you a spray instead of giving constructive feedback. It's pretty confronting, isn't it?
Yes.
Especially if it's in front of your whole team and your front square copping the spray. It has happened to me, and that coach actually was spitting in my face. Like, I was copping a spray of spit. So I just found that, like, I went back into my shell after copping that. You know, he could have just said, look, you know, Rafe, I need you, like, your leading patterns were wrong that quarter. We need you to, you know, hold ground, protect space, and then lead up into that space rather than leading early and then creating the space. So if he said that, I would have said, all right, go back out there. Okay, I know I've been given clear feedback on what is required of me this quarter, and that's what I'll do. So we'll just go through another little bit of a brainstorm. All right, so let's look at, based on the video, the above points a specific environment and competition. So we went through just before about when to give feedback during a training session. Okay, so how can we observe during competition? So during your AFL 9s game that's coming up next week, how are you observing your athletes whilst they're out there playing? Okay, what things can you be doing, like when you're visually observing them out on the field? Are you observing their structures? Are they setting up properly? Yana in the midfield. Are the boys, do they understand the tap zones? Are they going to the tap zones? Are they protecting? Who's a protector? Who's a sweeper? Who's the go-to? Okay, backline Jess, are they positioning themselves like, you might be a wind that's blowing across the ground. Are they positioning themselves corridor side to protect the goal square? Things like that. So when you're out there observing, you know, it's so important. And as a coach, one of the most important things you can do when you're observing is have a notepad. Okay, because you're observing, but you're invested in the game as well. So there might be things you're observing, and then you move on to the next one, and you forget that. It might have been 3 minutes of incorrect setup, or 3 minutes of incorrect running pattern. So for me, it's just, you know, write them down. All right, quarter one, midfield group weren't setting up in the hit zones, tap zones properly. Okay, we need to address positioning. We need to address when you're pushing off, things like that. So continuous observation when you're out there is key, and that engagement as a coach is that you're, from the start of the quarter to the end of the quarter, you're fully engaging. You're not missing anything that's going on out in the field, making sure all your participants, all your athletes, players are doing what's required. Alright, so what feedback is appropriate during competition? Okay? What feedback is appropriate during competition?
Nice feedback.
Hey?
Nice feedback.
Nice feedback.
If
Yeah?
something's happened, like, don't, like, kind of stay calm.
Yeah? That's really good.
Positive.
Yeah.
You know, to be like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't working, but that's okay. Like, at least you're trying, but try and do this,
spot on. So the feedback you give is constructive. Okay?
Yeah, that word, that's the word.
Yeah.
Constructive.
So like, and that it's so important because it can get a player into the game. Okay, it might just be they're just starting on the wrong side of their opponent for where you want to move the ball. So remember the setups you ran last week,
Yeah.
where you were moving the ball out to 45 to the open side space. If
Yeah.
you're starting on this side of your opponent, the skinny side of the boundary, like you got to get past your opponent first before you can get out into space. So constructive feedback would be like, Jess, just next time when we're looking to come in 50, to benefit you and your leading patterns, just come around and start on this side of your opponent, so you've actually got the space to lead into. So that's constructive, positive feedback. It's got to help you straight away, immediately, to get yourself into the games. And that sort of feeds into feedback that's relevant as well. So I would be going up to you, Brooke, and giving you feedback on what the
Yeah.
back line are doing wrong, or what the back line say. Yeah, I'm giving you relevant feedback to help you as a forward. So that's really important. And when it's not a good time to provide feedback in competition.
When the players are worked up,
Yep.
like kind of not focusing.
Yeah.
If something bad happens and they're like they're talking down on themselves, like.
You give them the time to cool off.
Yeah.
If they're out there and they've made a couple of silly mistakes, send the runner out and say, Jess, can you just bring Jess off for 2 minutes? I'll just have a quick chat. Alright, and that's important as well. Like, long gone are the days of old school coaches. They just give you a bait, give you a spray. Like, it's not constructive, especially with your generation coming through. You need positive reinforcement that you're doing the right things, and when things aren't going right, you can still deliver your feedback in a positive way, constructive way. So during your AFL games, you might not be able to get the message out straight away. So when is a good time then to give feedback? If you can't get your message out during the quarter, say first quarter, when's the first time you can get together with the players that you need to? Quarter time, yeah. So as a coach, like from my experience, there's been times like we just need to get to quarter time. Things just aren't going your way, and we need to go and have a reset, and we need to get to quarter time so we can have a reset and we can work on the areas that we need to work on, and then get back out the next quarter and put it all into play. Right, so we're just going to group brainstorm now. Review process. Alright, so at the end of the game, when's a good time to review? If it's after a loss, do you come in and start reviewing, or do you just let it sit?
And
with the
do
playing
talk
group?
about training.
Yeah, spot on with you. So, just going to have a quick look at a couple of different methods of reviewing. How many of your coaches and things go through like
We do video review every Tuesday.
I was waiting to hear Case. Yeah, video review. So everyone learns differently. Alright, so a video review to see like what you're actually doing out in the field. It might be like just a minute snippet of like a couple of leading patterns that you might not have started in the correct position. You might have started too far out from the goal square, where they needed you to start a bit deeper so you could get a shorter lead and a more maximised shot on goal. So video footage is good. What other ways can you review your game as a coach? What other methods are there? You might have someone on the sideline taking stats case. Yes, good. So statistics are crucial. So if we're looking at footy, our specific sport, inside 50 entries, Liana, centre clearances, okay, rebound 50 is my favourite one. How many times can you go from one end to the other and score a goal? Contested marks, contested ball, ground ball gets. There's a lot of stats you can go through. And usually if you lose a game, you come up short in specific stats, okay? So it might be that contested ball, you're minus 40 in contested ball. So if that's the case, most times you're going to lose the game. Okay, it means they're winning more one-on-ones, they're winning more battles, aerial or ground ball. So, you know, they're more likely to get more opportunities inside 50 to kick goals. Could be uncontested possession as well. So some teams like to chip around. Like when my coach, I like to move the ball, I like to change lanes, pick off 45 hold and move the ball by foot. So you're getting a lot of uncontested sort of ball, and how many scoring opportunities are you getting from your change or uncontested ball change. So stats are crucial as well. And then what's another? If you've got an assistant coach, or you, even yourself, you're writing down your game notes, you can review your game notes. So pick out, essentially what I used to do is pick out 5 or 6 positives from the game, okay, and never negative, okay, it's never a negative, it's always 3 areas of improvement, okay, so it's not like 3 areas you did bad in, right, it's 3 areas, what are the 3 main stat areas we can get better in, okay, so that's really important. Okay, so after that, you're then going to look at your own professional coaching practices, so your own self-reflection on your coaching performance. So how did I go? Questions that you need to ask, okay? Get feedback from assistant coaches, get feedback from the players, get feedback from anyone that's on the sideline, your statisticians, okay? What did I do well? Alright, what did I do well today? Okay, I was calm in my delivery of instructions. My communication style was clear and concise, and we were able to get the points across that we needed to get across. What could I have done better? Okay, so that's the important, the terminology and the words that you use when you're self-reflecting. Alright, never get into that negative spiral like, oh, I did so bad today, and it's common with your age bracket. Okay, what key decisions did I make during the competition? Were they right decisions? Why not? Okay, so did I manage to pull a couple of moves that helped swing the game? Because as a coach, you have your team, you have your strategy, you have your tactics, you have your setup. Okay, sometimes they don't work. Sometimes what the other team's doing is counteracting your style of gameplay. So you have to think on your feet. Did I make a good move here to help halt momentum and swing it back in our favour? So you're always asking these sort of questions when you're coaching out in sporting competition as well. And do you know what? Like, I come home from a day of coaching and I'm so drained. Like, I just need to go for a sleep because the mental engagement for that whole 120 minutes that you're out there is pretty full on. Like, there's so many elements of the game that you're trying to oversee, making sure that your structures, your strategy, your movement is going well, but what are they doing as well? Like, how are they beating us today? And you're trying to figure out, what do I need to do to change it? And it's like pretty full on. I love the tactical side of football and strategy and game plan and things like that. So, you know, it's always good to self-reflect on your own performance, figure out what was going awesomely for you and what you need to improve on. So from here, we've got to do our next session plan for your tactical session. So we will have a short break after this, and then we'll come back in and you guys can start to work on your session plans, and then you can deliver that on Friday. And then during Friday session as well, we might do a little role play of what your game's going to look like for next week as well. So
What is next week?
next week's we're running the game.
Okay.
Yeah, AFL game. So all
Who will be teaching?
all the year 11 students. You're going to be running. So your athletes that you've been working with, and then you're going to go out and execute your tactics, and you're going to coach. You're going to coach them like you're in a coaching, like a sporting competition.
Okay.
Which would be cool because you'll be able to, you know, implement your own little strategies and game plans and things like that. And I'll be able to observe you guys thanks a lot for your time today. We covered off on timely feedback for training sessions, feedback for when you're in a sporting competition, reviewing process, so reviewing the game process, and also self-reflection on your own coaching performance. So thanks guys, and next session